first step to my long-lasting blowout would be to towel dry, just because you don't want your hair sopping wet, so I would get it about 75% dry, just so you don't have to put in that extra work when it comes to blow drying itself. Keep in mind for step 2 that I do have curly hair, so yes, I do use products. I often use a leave-in and a heat protectant. If your hair is more on the fine side, just go with the leave-in or the heat protectant, not both. I recommend the acidic bonding treatment from Redken, Olaplex No. 6, all-in-one milk, and kale infusion from COLLABS. Usually I take the Redken and use a pea-size amount, but you can go by your hair texture and density, how much hair you have, but I take it from the mid-lengths to my ends, left over on my hands. For my bang area, comb through with a wet brush. I take my tail comb and I part it directly down the middle. I am a middle part girly through and through. If you are not, you can obviously part your hair a different way. I always use a heat protectant. I would say this is my favorite at the moment, just because this is like my daily use, and she smells like cupcakes. So good. The heat protectants I personally use are the Redken Blowout Spray, this 4-in-1 pep spray from IGK Hair, which is also a detangler, and this keratin-like frizz control spray that is also a heat protectant from IGK, and this liquid glass miracle sealant from Drive Up. Usually when you go to the hair salon, they do the front first, which you can also do the front first if you find this way easier. For me personally, I find it easier to start from the bottom layer since I am doing it myself. The back never really gets dry when you're doing it yourself, so you kind of really have to put in some elbow work to get it all dry. Split the back in two. Bottom 2 layers, I don't use rollers. I just pull down. I usually dry my roots with the blow dryer. Pull down more, and then I just spin the brush 1 time and pull down and spin the brush again and pull down, spin the brush again and pull down till there's nothing, and then it creates this little curl. I would say practice this motion just because it can get a little bit hard with the blow dryer, and if your hair ever does get stuck in the brush, always pull from the middle. Even if it's up here, like look, you can just pull it right out from the middle. So don't be scared of getting your hair tangled in there, because I know that's everyone's fear when it comes to blow drying their hair. That was literally my biggest fear. Even sometimes when other people dry get stuck, and it's just like, it's literally like a learning process, literally. My first key is to get a lot of tension around the roots. Make sure they're completely dry before you start forming that type of curl. To twirl it around and form this little tiny banana type curl, and I leave it until I'm completely done so that this can mold into whatever shape is in here. Now for the next side, everything is always curled away from your face, so the same thing as if you were curling your hair. Take the brush, spin it, and pull. I usually only use 1 hand, so I don't know why I'm showing you with 2. It's probably a lot easier to learn with 1 hand. I just spin the brush in my hand and pull, spin the brush and pull. And remember, if it does get stuck, just pull from the middle. You don't have to be scared. I'm gonna do the other side, and then we're gonna move on to the other layers. I also feel like it is a lot easier to take bigger sections, just because it's faster to take bigger sections, and I feel like if you take a smaller section, you're more likely to get your hair stuck in the brush. The bigger the section, I feel like it's easier to just pull out. Small hairs, I feel like get tangled a lot easier than a big patch of hair, you know? And if you don't like the piece and you think it's a little too frizzy, you can always just go over it. It's basically the same thing as the curling iron, just don't hold the blow dryer there. I don't want you guys to burn your hair off. Now for the next section, now basically the only parts that are supposed to be left, pieces that you put in a roller. It should either be 2 or 3 sections, I don't know, that's up to you, however you want to do it. Sometimes I do 2, sometimes I do 3. I think it just kind of depends on my mood. And I also don't know if I'm going to put rollers in the front. I think I'm just going to do the top layer this time. As these sections on the side, I find a little too big to blow dry in one section. If you want to dry the roots in this big section, that's cool. You can definitely do that. But me personally, I like to just split this down the middle and do this front piece first, because this is where I feel we all have like a lot of breakage or just new growth and baby hairs that need to be blow dried first. Otherwise they're gonna forever be frizzy and look like this. For my baby hairs, I brush back and pull the brush forward again, just so I can... Now it will kind of look like a little mess, but at least your baby hairs aren't flying around anymore. Now just blow dry the roots like normal. And I just do it all over again. I'm gonna finish up this side and then I'll come back for the rollers. I also just wanted to show it to you in a time lapse with no cuts, just so you can see how many times I really go in and go over the same piece over and over again to really mold that curl and to make sure that the piece is completely dry, because if your piece is even the slightest bit damp, that's how you get a very frizzy blowout, and I feel like that's not anybody's goal, is a frizzy blowout. So that's why my first key of advice was to make sure that your roots are completely dry before forming the curl. Last section, I'm gonna split this into two rollers, two big rollers actually. Use these Velcro rollers, I got them from Amazon. They're linked to my storefront, I'll put them in the description. I'm gonna do the back one first, just because I feel like it's harder to get once you have that first roller in. Actually, I'm just gonna clip it to the side. These sections I like to blow dry up and roll them down. Blow drying them up gives them more volume. Blow drying them forward, over directing, causes the curl to go on a slant. So the piece back here will be straight compared to the front piece that will be curly, and it will spiral into that curl. If you have enough brushes, you could just leave the brush like this. I'm not going to do that, so I'm just going to unspin the brush and put a roller in, if I can get it in, because this is kind of a big section. For rollers, it's best if you take a section that is the same size as the actual roller itself, like if you were to measure it like this. But I'm just going to clip this like this. This section, I don't blow dry up. I don't like when my bangs have a lot of volume, but I like when the back of my head has a lot of volume, which is why I blow dry that piece straight up. And for these sections, dry the roots, and I just pull it forward and just roll it back. Pull forward, roll back. Or you can roll it in. Some people roll it in. I preferably don't like rolling it in because then it's too swoopy, flippy in my face. Look at this one piece that's like going crazy, but we could leave it like that just because it's already emboldened in that section anyway. These pieces I'm just going to brush out with my fingers, and here's like where you would feel any damp pieces. Like right here, this piece is a little damp, so I'm gonna go over it again. I'm gonna do my makeup and then I'll come back and show you the finished look after the rollers are out. My makeup is completely done. Okay, my makeup's done. Let's take these rollers out. I personally take my rollers out, I hold from the root, and I spin it like that until it comes out, just so that it's not knotty. And I just flop it over in the back. You can either leave your bangs like this. This to me, it looks fine, but it's too flippy for me. Can't believe I cut bangs again. I kind of am regretting it right now, styling them for the first time since my haircut. I haven't had bangs in a year. But anyway, I take that same section of my bangs and I over direct them like this, and I spin and pull them away until all the hair falls out. My bangs perfectly frame my face, and I can flip them and they'll still always go back to their original spot, which is framing my face. Now I can brush out the rest, and this is my cute little blowout.